The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. Hour number 2, Dirt and Sprague here on 1080 The Fan, the Odyssey app, 99.5 HD2, and, of course, YouTube. Hello, YouTube.
Hello.
We have a lot to get to in the second hour of the program. It's prime time tonight. Oh, yeah.
Can't wait, dude. I am so excited for tonight.
And then they win 45-7, and you go, okay.
I mean, that's fine. Either way, it's great content. Like, either way, if they blow them out, and do you believe now? I get that again. Remember, they won their first game of the year last year, and it was, do you believe now?
Well, that was TCU.
And they dominated the sport for a month, and that's all anybody talked about, and then they lost 7 out of 8.
Yes, they did. So we'll get to that coming up. We will talk with Yogi Roth. We're going to move the ticker to 8:15 today. Yogi Roth of the Big Ten Network is going to join us. He's going to be on the call for Idaho and Oregon.
Yes, he is.
I'll put a poll question up. If you're just tuning in, we ended the first hour on Notre Dame going 10-2, but their 2 losses being like USC and A&M. Should that be playoff worthy with the schedule? To your point and your credit, you were right last year, and everything you said, I can 100% see happening again. 10-2 Notre Dame, hosting a playoff game. Yeah, they're not going to bypass that chance.
Well, I love somebody texting in, if Oregon loses to Ohio State twice and gets in, I'll puke. Like, dude, if those are their only 2 losses, they are 100% in.
If it wasn't expanded last year, they would have got in despite losing twice
to Washington twice.
Yeah.
This is not quite the same standard that we used to have. It's 12 teams, and I just brace yourself because 90% of those spots are going to go to 2 conferences. Like, just get that out of the way now.
I'm not going to be shocked by that.
ACC, you're going to get 1, probably only 1. Big 12, you're definitely only getting 1. That's Notre Dame. That's all you got. The rest of them are going to the Big Ten and SEC.
You can reach the show, as Dirt just pointed out there, at the Vancouver Ford text line, 503-864-6326. They treat you right before, during, and after the sale. Visit them at vancouverford.com for more details. And I did want to quickly plug, we don't do it very often, one of our listeners, Justin, tweeted us yesterday.
Yeah.
He is doing a bike ride to fight MS. His wife, unfortunately, diagnosed with that in 21, and so we retweeted a whole thing that one of our listeners, Justin, one of our P1s, put up. You can go find that at our Twitter profile, at Dirt and Sprague. And if you're interested in helping him and the bike ride out, you can find him on Twitter at JustinWolf7. That's WULF7. I don't do that very often, but we love our listeners, and it sucks when this stuff happens. And so we just want to support the fight for all of those things. And so go help Justin if you can. A lot to get to in the second hour of the program. I wanted to talk about the local schools. You love to do these preseason picks, these hot takes.
Dude.
You love to amp up into football season.
Yeah, I got it. I got my notes ready to go. I'm writing them down. We can laugh about these.
Oregon has Idaho.
They do.
Oregon State has Idaho State. So we're the fighting potatoes this weekend.
Bring it on, Idaho. You don't get half of our state. Once we beat you by a combined 742 points, you leave Eastern Oregon alone.
I went on a big anti-Idaho rant with my family on the camping trip because they were like, oh, I want to go to Idaho. And I'm like, what are you going to do in Idaho?
I mean, there are beautiful parts of Idaho.
Have you ever been to Coeur d'Alene? Yeah, everybody and their mom goes there. It's too busy. Where else are you going to go? I've been to Idaho. Anyways, fighting Idahos. UW's hosting Weber State.
They are.
And the Cougs are hosting our Portland State Vikings. Pretty bad games. Pretty awful week 1 openers. I think we'll selfishly watch all of our teams for different little reasons, and then they'll be up by 30 points, hopefully. And we will move on with our day. I want to do, how good will they be? I want record predictions before this.
Regular season record predictions.
How good will the Ducks be? How good will the Beavs be? How good will the Huskies and the Cougs be? And I want you to keep these down just in case we're either way wrong or we're pretty much spot on with who they are.
I got it ready to go. I'm ready to jot them down. Record predictions for the upcoming college football season.
Okay, we'll start here. Washington State. How good? What will Washington State's record be in the pseudo Mountain West / Pac-2? What will the Washington State Cougars be in 2024?
Well, I like their schedule. I like the way that it shakes out. This largely could be determined who ends up with the better record between Oregon State and Washington State when they play each other, because I don't think there's that big of a difference on the two teams. Oregon State lost more overall on their roster than Washington State did, but you could make an argument the importance of a Cam Ward is bigger than maybe anything Oregon State lost outside of Damian Martinez. The first 2 games of the year, to me, are winnable for them. Portland State, obviously, at home this week. And then, remember, Oregon kicked them the Texas Tech game when the Civil War got rescheduled. They get Texas Tech at home, a night game in Pullman.
That's a fun little game.
That's a fun little game in week 2, and it's a chance for them to kind of plant the flag and say, we're still
Put
here.
us in the Big 12,
We're hard to beat up in Pullman. Lord knows I know that from however many years Oregon damn near lost or did lose up there. And then Washington in week 3. It's a bit of a tough 2-week stretch there with Texas Tech and Washington. But because you have to go to Oregon State, because I think you probably split the Washington-Texas Tech game and then tough road trips to Boise, to Fresno, and to San Diego State, I look at it and I say, if I'm 8-4 and I'm Washington State, I'm happy with that. 8-4 is my record prediction for the Cougs.
Very quickly, Swag, before I go to you, Washington State loves to dabble in flags. They're big flag people. Shouldn't a diehard fan or student, shouldn't there be some Big 12 Washington State combo logos on flags the way Beaver fans are doing that at that Texas Tech game? Just
Not
to
a
be
bad idea.
Oh, by the way,
especially if you win it.
did Old Crimson make it to Dublin?
It did.
They did.
Okay.
Yeah,
They
it
did.
did.
They kept it going, yeah.
There you go.
They are not following Ryan Leaf's advice. They are not going to boycott College game day.
It's a tough situation to be in. I don't blame either
Look,
side.
sometimes tradition is tradition.
I know.
Yeah, I agree with bringing it. You have to do whatever you can to stay on the forefront of people's minds. Does it matter that much? Probably not, but letting it go away and losing that is that would not be the right.
What do you think Washington State is record-wise?
I'm gonna say 7-5. They have some tougher road trips.
Well, we think these are tough
We
road
think they're
trips.
tougher
I don't know if
road
San Diego
trips.
State's going to be good. Is Fresno State good? They just lost their
We
coach.
think.
Their coach just retired like a month ago.
It's over.
We think.
We think. Here's the situation.
I'm also
Where are
gonna
my
say-
T-shirts? Damn it!
Yeah. Why don't we have those Swagart T-shirts?
Hey, when we started the T-shirt thing, I wanted this show because I just have a different opinion or thought on show shirts. I wanted a general show / station shirt, and I wanted it to be first on the fan. I think that is an iconic call.
Yes, it is.
All of these new update goobers all start first on the fan. Like everybody that comes in and does that does it because of you. I thought that should have been the shirt. But, the powers that be have other thoughts. I also have the Cougs at 7-5.
7-5 Cougs for
7-5
Sprague?
Cougs. I think they lose a heartbreaker somewhere. I'm really pulling for them in that Tech game. I think that would be a great win for them. And I can't have them beating my Beavs. I'm sorry. It's just not.
Man, the game's in Corvallis.
Not
You get
gonna
it
be
at
in the
home
cards.
this year.
The Huskies.
The Huskies. Man,
That's a tough one right there.
it's a really tough one to predict. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point this year they end up playing the freshman quarterback. Like if you lose a couple of games early and the things aren't going the way that you thought maybe. If I'm Jed Fish, I lean towards let's build for the future. We have an absolute stud who we're bringing up at the most important position on the field. And thank you, Will Rogers, for your service. But we're going to go ahead and move on from you. Their non-conference schedule is manageable because you open with Weber State in Eastern Michigan, so it's an automatic 2-0. You get the Cougs at home, and then your first 2 conference games are Northwestern and Rutgers. So
Who will be favored in that game, Washington or Washington State? Because that's it.
it's in
the Lumen
So
Field.
Lumen Field.
right now, your line, according to ESPN Bet, is 7.5 Huskies.
I'm jumping all over that.
I would too. They damn near beat them last year.
Should have
and
beat 'em
There was
last
a massive
year.
gap between those 2 teams. But there's a decent chance you're 5-0. But then things get tough with Michigan, Iowa, USC, Penn State, Oregon, obviously at the end.
Sure.
I wouldn't be surprised if they let one of those first 3 challenging games slip, the Cougs, Northwestern, or on the road at Rutgers, which is a night game over there for them. Because of that and the difficult back end of the schedule, I'm going to say 7-5 for Washington this year.
I think 7-5,
Which
year
I would
one.
take. If I'm a Husky fan, I'm okay with that
You're happy with
understanding.
that.
This is a long not a long rebuild, but it's going to take us 2 years
Okay.
to get back.
I tend to have a little bit more faith in Jed Fish
Sure.
that he can rally the troops and get everybody on the same page a little quicker. That stretch at Rutgers, home Michigan, at Iowa is a rough travel organizational stretch right in the middle of the season, and that's 3 straight weeks. There's no bye in there.
Yeah.
We'll see what USC is doing at that point in the season, and then it's a tough finish at Penn State, UCLA, at Oregon. So I'm going to give Fish the benefit of the doubt and go 8-4.
8-4.
8-4 would be
8-4 is a
remarkable.
great first year.
I will have like you can question game to game decision making, all that. I will not really have anything negative to say about an 8-4 season. Like
No.
I would be very complimentary of an 8-4 season. I have them 6-6.
6-6.
I
okay.
have them losing a lot of the games you guys just mentioned. I think the turnover part, I think Fish kind of knows that. They may dabble with the young quarterback at one point. I don't expect wins, especially at the back end of that schedule. At Rutgers is a night game.
At Rutgers,
I think that's a loss.
8 p.m. East Coast game, I think.
Yeah, I think that's tough. Rutgers is an underrated program with Schiano. I'm going to go 6-6. So makes a bowl game. Not the worst, not the greatest, but just treading water year one Big Ten with a rebuild.
And he's already recruiting at a higher level
Yeah.
than Kalen DeBoer ever did in Seattle. So I think if you're okay with that, if you're Husky.
Speed up a little bit. The
Yeah.
Beavs, our beloved Beavers.
Look, I don't think computers are always right, but sometimes they say something and I'm like, you know what, computer, that's a good point. I'm leaning towards the FPI here. I feel the same way about the Purdue game. I feel the same way about the Purdue game that I do the Texas Tech game in Washington State. Like, that's a chance to play a Power 5 opponent at home, eyeballs on you.
Oh, yeah.
You get a win, you make a statement, say, yeah, we don't belong, bitch. Look at that. We just beat you, Purdue. Go make some
right.
beer. So I think they win that game. I think the ones that I circle, San Diego State in week 2, I don't think you're going to beat Oregon. Sorry, Beaver fan. And then obviously the Boise State game at the end. But you get Washington State at home. You tell me a couple of those or a couple of games in there are toss-ups. I got Oregon State going 9-3. I'm following the FPI.
I too like 9-3.
Damn it, dude.
going
Just
3 for
jot
3,
it
9
down.
and 3.
3 for 3. FPI's
Colorado
right.
State. There's a little revenge game there. They get them at home during the season.
Revenge from like 4 years ago?
Yeah, chip on the
Yes.
shoulder, baby.
I would just finish Hood to
We
Coast. I watched
never
that game at
forget.
a Seaside Brewing.
I
I
will
think
never
the other
forget that game.
I think
either.
the other tough road trip is late in the season at Air Force.
Got to go
One,
stop the triple option.
Because you got to deal with their funky offense. 2, Colorado Springs isn't the easiest place to play late in the fall. So
Really? I didn't know that about Colorado Springs.
So it's over, isn't it? Like 6,000 feet of elevation.
I don't know. I
think it's higher than
assume the
Denver.
elevation exists there. I
I don't know.
never thought about Air Force as a football powerhouse, but
Neither have I.
I will take that into note. 9-3 as well for me with my Beavs. I do like the FPI projections. Purdue's massive. I don't think they beat Oregon. I hope there's just a lot of screaming and shouting at Oregon.
Oh, there will be.
And it will be hostile, but hard to see the talent gap there making that a win. And I don't know where the third loss is. I don't know if it's Boise State. I'd love for them to go in there and beat Boise State because I
They
bet
got to
one.
go to Nevada. That's another odd place to play. I don't know what the Wolfpack's got cooking.
yeah,
this
maybe
year.
they're better this year because they almost beat SMU. So
They
I'll
did.
also go Beavs 9-3.
Okay.
Fantastic year one post Jonathan.
Oh, dude, you take that. I think
All day.
with any of these records, if you're that we've given out so far, I think the fan base should be okay with it.
Well, we like all these teams a little too much, so that means doom and gloom for somebody. Let's wrap it up with the Ducks. Who do you got for your Ducks?
I mean, 5-7 this year. Nobody's given us a chance. I don't like the talent on the roster.
Sure,
They're a
yeah.
couple of years away. They're building. They're not quite there yet. They're building. No, I think this team's loaded. I think you can make a very strong argument it's the best team in the history of the program. They got some good news on the offensive line yesterday. It seems like they're not quite as dinged up long term as maybe some people originally feared. When they don't talk about injuries, it's hard to know how long guys are going to be out. I don't think you go 12-0. The schedule's too challenging with Ohio State, Wisconsin on the road, Michigan. Who knows what Washington is at the end of the year? Road trip to Corvallis early in the season. I can't say 12-0, but I have a hard time seeing more than one loss. You get Ohio State at home. That's going to be the biggest game of the season of the life of the
you have them winning that
university.
game, don't you?
I think they win that game.
And you get upset
and then
somewhere else?
Wisconsin gets you in a cold weather game. Michigan gets you maybe late in the year. Another random one that we're not even talking, like Purdue on a Friday night on
Well,
the road.
if we beat
like,
Purdue and you don't, you
hey,
better.
we got to go into Boilermaker territory, okay? We don't get them in Eugene. So I go 11-1 for Oregon.
All right.
13-0, the number 2 overall seed in the college football playoff bracket.
Nobody's giving us a chance this year, man. Nobody's giving us a chance. Just flying under the radar. Nobody. I was watching the end of game day last Saturday. I was on the train on the way up to Seattle, getting all excited for that game to start. They're like, all right, let's make our championship picks. Desmond Howard, I got Oregon over Georgia. Nick Saban, I got Georgia over Oregon. Kirk Herbstreit, I got Oregon over Georgia. I'm like, all right, cool. This is great. Thanks,
Underdog, huh?
guys. Underdog. Thanks, guys.
I'm going to go 10-2, but gets in the playoffs, gets feisty, good 10-2 team. I don't mean to disrespect 10-2.
Sure you don't. You just hate the Ducks, don't you?
Oh, you know
Look
it.
at you.
You
Look
know
at you
me.
over there.
Everything I say is anti-Duck.
Bias Sprague
Oh,
over
there
there.
it is.
Here he comes. Oh, here he comes. There he is.
Tough schedule. I don't think you beat Ohio State at home, but I could be wrong. That game is going to be a dogfight. I cannot wait for that game. And I think a Michigan can get you in the old big house. So I think there's a loss there. That doesn't also mean you don't play in the Big Ten championship either. I think that conference is going to be a dogfight. So 10-2. You have 11-1. Swag has them undefeated, and I think we know why
13-0.
he's doing that.
13-0.
Why he's doing it for a reason.
I know.
Look at his little
he's
face
just
over there.
grinning over there.
Smug little
Yeah.
Lake Ridge face. 13-0. So the minute they don't, he can question it all
That's
publicly.
right.
Here's the situation.